radio, and I come up with just questions I can ask an operator there. There's only a few of them. I can hear you really good. You want to participate in a little interview here with me, over?
Sure, I don't mind. Maybe I should switch over to my main station, though, so that there won't be that intermittent clipping like you said.
Now, I had no clipping, and what's crazy is your system is set up so good right now that I thought it was clipping. I couldn't tell it was packet loss at all. It was happening so fast. So whatever you did to resolve the issue when I mentioned it, I'm not receiving that on your end. If you're copying me okay, I'd be comfortable going this way, all right?
Okay, roger that. I may have found the culprit. I use Google Earth occasionally, and I must have opened it up a couple of days ago or something, and it wasn't fully shut down, and it always interferes with my signal going out, and it creates that clipping. So I checked that out, and I shut it down. So maybe it fixed it, I hope.
Yeah, like I say, as long as it's not happening on the receive end for you, you sound great on this end, and we're not losing anything. So it's a pleasure to meet you here on 10 meter for sure, and I appreciate you wanting to take a moment to chat with me for a few minutes. So after I ask you the first question, if you don't mind, just go ahead and identify and give your name and location, and I'll try to make it a simple chatter, and I promise I won't do anything to offend you, okay?
Okay, we'll see how it goes. K5 RBI.
Yeah, very fine business. N7ECV here with K5 RBI. And we're going to play 5 questions here. And so the very first question I can ever ask a ham on the air, what got you interested in radio, over?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, when I was a kid, and I mean probably 12, 13, 14 years old, I used to have these, I got these walkie-talkies for Christmas one year, and they were really good walkie-talkies made from Sears. And they had a distance capability of about 1 mile. So instead of being these cheap walkie-talkies that would just work around the house, they actually would get out there, and I could talk to other kids in the neighborhood as far as a mile away. So that's when I first started. I would talk to them on the radio and started to learn how to communicate on the CB radio through that set of walkie-talkies, and I just always have had that interest in it. And then I retired back here in 2013. I had not been on CB radio or walkie-talkies for 50 years probably, and I live alone, and I thought, man, the only communication I have is with Walmart clerks whenever I go shopping at Walmart, and I thought I'm missing that human element because I was so involved with my work. I'm a retired pharmacist, and I worked in a clinical setting, and so I was missing just talking with good people. And so I thought, you know what, maybe I should check out ham radio. I bet there's something there, and I bet I could meet a lot of people on the air, and that's what really got me interested again into getting back on the radio. I was wanting that human contact, and I decided to look at it. And at first I thought, wow, this is going to be difficult, but I'm going to learn it and I'm going to do it. So I started looking and studying and doing everything that I could to get my license. I got a general license at first, and then about a year later I ended up getting my extra. So yeah, that's the main reason, and ever since then, that was just back in 2016. So I've been an operator for about 6 years now, going on 7, and I just have really thoroughly enjoyed the hobby. It's just wonderful. I love it.
Oh, very fine business there, and we cleared out question 2 as well. There is how long you've been a ham. That's very good. What a neat concept to kind of start out with the old Sears walkie-talkies. I think I kind of remember those, maybe not the same model, but in my youth, those were, of course, hand-me-downs, right, from my uncle or something like that. And boy, how cool it was to actually be able to communicate with the neighbor kids and friends down the road and stuff. And I think that's got to be how most people, in some way, have sparked that social interaction too. Very fine business that you've been able to come back this direction later on in life and pick it up and actually enjoy the hobby. You're coming around at a very good time. 2016 or so, it wasn't too bad conditions-wise. I waited quite a bit of time to be able to even have a conversation on 10 meter. So very good. I appreciate you taking a moment there. So next I would ask you there, what is your favorite mode? What's your favorite mode to operate? Do you have a particular notion towards digital, CW? Is there anything that you would consider your favorite mode there? Over.
Well, when I was young again, I did do a little bit of Morse code, and I learned it back then, but I didn't carry it through, and I had no use, no business practicing it, so I kind of lost touch with that. So I am interested in CW, but my main interest is just to have a good conversation on the air and, talk to people via phone. I forgot to mention something also as a kid, with that interest that I had in walkie-talkies and CB radio. I remember I went to a garage sale with my mother, and I saw this it was a Sanyo radio, and it was small. It was about maybe 4 inches by about 6 inches and maybe an inch and a half thick. And it had a big old antenna on it, and it was a shortwave radio. And I thought, oh, this looks kind of cool. And I knew what it was, but I didn't know what it could do. So I asked if I could buy it. She goes, yeah, because it was very, very low priced. And I thought, man, this is going to be cool. So I got that, and I was able to go out in the backyard and put the antenna up and move the dial around and pick up. You could hear conversations from maybe not all over the world, but from various countries. And so that was, to me, quite amazing that radio signals could be broadcast that far away. So that was another part of the whole interest that I had, and maybe even made me think about looking at ham radio as a hobby because I knew what it could do. Over.
Wow, how neat to just be hypnotized there, like a lot of us, by that shortwave radio. If I had only figured out that if I put a longer antenna outside, I'd have a little bit more fun as a kid with those things. I think it would have been a little bit even more.
Yeah, I agree. That's very true. It would have been amazing to actually get to participate and get involved with ham radio. I wished I would have done it a lot younger and many more years ago. But I'm glad I got into it. Over.
Very good. Yeah, and here we are chatting today. So I'll just take up a little bit more of your time there. This is November 7, Echo Charlie Victor. So any advice to new hams today? Is there anything, you've been playing around with radio and you've got to experience things all the way from playing with those walkie-talkies to your setup now? If there's something you would tell a new ham today, what would you tell them? Over.
Well, I would tell them, be safe. That would be the first thing I would stress to them is ham radio is a very interesting and challenging hobby, but be careful because you're dealing with some crazy amounts of energy that could kill you. And not trying to scare anybody away, but you can't be digging into amplifiers if you do not take the proper precautions and know exactly what you're doing. Leave that to professionals. Don't dig around and mess with the electrical part of it all. Put up antennas for sure and experiment with antennas. That would be the main advice I would have. There's no telling what you can do until you get out there and try it. There's people that have used fences. There's people that have used wires in their attic. There's all kinds of antennas out there that are available. Study the ones that you can online and learn about all the different stations pick up a book from ARRL so that you can learn about how different antennas work. And then if you have the space for a certain type of antenna, go for it. Give it a try. And just don't give up, because there's sometimes when a particular antenna may not work for you. But if you keep looking and trying different antennas, you will find something that works great. And when you get that accomplished feeling from putting up an antenna that is very successful, it makes the hobby all that more enjoyable, and you continue to try to improve what you have. So anyway, that would be my main advice to new hams. Over.
Oh man, how right you are. That K5 RBI and 7E CV. You know, that makes total sense. And that's a good advice, from the safety advice all the way to, hey, it's all about the experimentation, and boy, if you do it right from the antenna back, everything else is just beneficial for you there. Well, I've got one more question for you there, and then we can I can let you go. There's a little bit of QRM. The band is changing a bit. So the next one's kind of open-ended, if you don't mind there, Rich, and this is how it goes. So in your mind, the future of ham radio is?
Oh goodness, that's a good one. November 7, Echo Charlie Victor, K5 RBI. Well, the future of ham radio is continuance of a hobby that has been around for decades and many, many years, that is a very down-to-earth way to communicate with people all over the world. It unites people from everywhere, and it allows you to have civil conversation with people and enjoy their culture and their ways of life and their humor, their dialogue, the interesting topics that come about. And you just hear all kinds of things, and it sometimes makes your day to just sit back and listen to conversations. You don't always have to partake in conversations to enjoy ham radio. You can sit back and listen to groups talking about things, and they have a lot of good information, a lot of good advice, and it's just very, very interesting. And I think it's just going to continue to be a way that people get together to socialize, and it's much more intimate than social media or these, smartphone apps that allow you to communicate with people via text. Talking to someone is a lot better than just texting back and forth, because you don't really learn their personality, and ham radio will offer that. I think there will be a realization of that over time, and people will realize that talking with people is a lot of fun, and it's much more enjoyable than sitting down and typing to a stranger that you know nothing about. And when you have personal contact with someone via discussion or words, verbal communique, you tend to find out a lot more about a person. It's just more, you get to know people a lot better, and it's much more enjoyable. So I think it's going to be a uniting way for people just to continue to get together and socialize over the airwaves. Over.
Well, very good. I agree. A resurgence of intimate connection through verbal communication, man. That's very cool. Well, I do appreciate you taking a moment to chat with me there, Rich. It's what this is all about. It's a two-way street, and I can't do it without stations like you. Over.
USL there, Sean. Thanks for the interview. That was very nice. I enjoyed that. So I'll wish you 73s. There is a little bit of QRM coming in, and the band's kind of lowering or shifting downwards. So it was great that I got to bump into you today, and I'm sure that there's probably some others out there that would like to say hello to you. You're a very interesting person, and hope I can bump into you again to ask you about your dogs. Those really intrigued me when I saw them. Very, very nice. November 7, Echo Charlie Victor. This is K5. Runs batted in. Take care, Sean.
Yeah, it was going to be my next question if you were a baseball guy there. So look forward to talking to you when spring comes back around for sure. Hopefully 10 will open. Thank you again, Rich. It's been a pleasure on this end, and we'll look forward to tying in with you down the log. Thank you again. I do appreciate it. 7-3 from Washington. Over.
73, Sean, great talking with you. And yes, I'm a huge Houston Astros baseball fan, and we're in the World Series. Anyway, take care, my friend. It's been nice talking with you. November 7, Echo Charlie Victor, Kilo 5, runs batted in.
Very good. Yeah, I'll think of you there as start paying attention to the scores. We'll clear it, K5 RBI. Was there another Kilo 5 station calling?